Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts the lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 118. Fredo Esparza here, ready to talk about the latest news in Lucha Libre. We will be talking about many tag team tournaments going on in CMLL. Villano III Jr. winning a big mask match in Ciudad Juarez. And we will be previewing the upcoming CMLL Homenaje dos Leyendas and AAA Reyes shows that are coming up in a few days on the same weekend. Plus a lot of other news that has been going on in Lucha Libre. But first, we are going to talk about the most important news that has come out. And that has been the increased popularity of KeMonito. For those of you unfamiliar with KeMonito, he is that little blue monkey that hangs around ringside on CMLL shows just for one match, really. But you see him laying beneath the bottom rope, tucked in between the ring post and the bottom turnbuckle, trying to keep himself safe. Eventually gets caught by Rudos and usually gets beat up, and then gets carried off to the back to safety. But KeMonito has become a national... Well, he's always been a national treasure for many of us Lucha Libre fans. He's been around for a very long time as KeMonito, but even before that, he was the original Aluche. But he became... in the past couple of weeks, there's been a Facebook page that has been putting him... KeMonito in various pieces of art and just adding him into those photos, and it's been very interesting. So this past Wednesday there was a report that it was his birthday on March 4th, and that was actually incorrect. KeMonito and CMLL quickly denied that was not his actual birthday. His birthday is on July 3rd. This past Thursday, CMLL had a Facebook Live video stream with KeMonito where he talked about his birthday being on July 3rd, and he announced that CMLL will be having a special birthday bash, or they'll be honoring him on that July 3rd show that happens to be on a Friday. So I'm guessing he's going to get cake or some award or something from one of the main bosses or one of the programming department members on the show. Unfortunately, he won't be get from Sofia Alonso, but they will be honoring him. That was the big news of recently. That kind of tells you how bad it has been for CMLL, where that has actually been the big story. It's overshadowed the big feud that they have been building up for the Dos Leyendas show, which is Barbaro Carbonario versus Felino. And it's overshadowed all those numerous tag team tournaments that they have been holding. But KeMonito, he kind of talked about everything. He's kind of just gave a little bit of an interview and he actually made a comment about how there's been a lot of bootleg merchandise released with his likeness on them, but he wanted people to know that the only official merchandise available is through the CMLL Arena Mexico shopping area that they have there. And he did say that when he saw those tennis shoes, that he had a surprise coming. Somebody made some tennis shoes of KeMonito, like the design with the blue fur and all this stuff, and he made the comment that there was a surprise coming up. Who knows? Maybe they are going to make KeMonito shoes. All I know is that I could always just buy a pair of white Vans and have my niece color in KeMonito on those. She's good at doing that. She's done that this past Christmas. She actually made a few designs for herself and for some friends. So why not? If you want to get KeMonito shoes, just buy some white Vans, or even if you don't want to pay for Vans, you could just go to Walmart and get some cheaper slippers or shoes that you could have KeMonito drawn on there if you don't want to spend whatever crazy amount they're going to come up with should they release those shoes. I don't know if it's going to happen just because it's CMLL involved, and the odds of CMLL doing anything available for anybody outside of you attending Arena Mexico are very slim. So I wouldn't expect anything. I'd be shocked if it does happen. Then hopefully some of you will buy them, and if you do, send us a review on what you get from if you get those shoes like that. I doubt they're going to get released by CMLL. More likely, KeMonito's probably going to have somebody design them. I think there's a few luchadors that actually do that. I think Pentagon Jr.'s done some shoes like that, and a few other guys. So I think that would probably be the more likely direction they go, where they get someone who actually does that already, that just to have them do that for themselves. But that has been the big news as far as Lucha Libre. And that is the end of the podcast now. No, I'm just kidding. It should end this way. I mean, honestly, there hasn't been a lot, and it's been a very disappointing. AAA has been really good, but I kind of feel that because CML has kind of been on a decline, that it's kind of hurt a lot of. It's kind of made watching, because they have so many more shows available online, that it's kind of killed a lot of interest in Lucha Libre, because a lot of the fans who don't really watch AAA, they'll maybe give it a chance if they're still watching CMLL, that maybe I'll watch so-and-so was in CMLL, maybe I'll watch AAA. And right now, I don't know if CMLL and the same thing goes with AAA. If AAA, you don't have a lot of crossover fans where somebody's watching both promotions. And I kind of feel right now that there's going to be a lot more fans that are probably just going to tune out Lucha Libre or watch, just a handful of matches. If you're not into CMLL right now, trust me, you should really give AAA a shot, because it's been really good. I know a lot of people just kind of think of it more being an Americanized promotion, but they have a lot of talent, and for the most part, I think every show there's at least 2 or 3 good matches. Some shows are really good. I mean, their worst show this year is better than anything that CMLL's put together in the last 3 to 4 months, which tells you how bad CMLL has been. And I could even go even further, just because CMLL has really struggled the last few weeks with their shows. And I kind of think a lot of us were kind of looking at the tag tournament just as a break from the boredom of the previous shows. And it turned out these tournaments have been just as bad as the other shows. So it's been very difficult to watch CMLL. And I don't know if we see a light at the end of the tunnel, just because the programming department just keeps coming up with really uncreative ideas, and it hasn't been fun. I mean, their ideas of creativity in the past couple of weeks have been bringing back the Mexican national tag team titles, not just for the men, but for the women. And I don't think CMLL really needs more titles. In fact, I think if you ask any fan or any person that follows wrestling, the first thing they would tell you is they need to cut back on titles. We've constantly said that, to me, ideally, CMLL should only have the CMLL titles. I don't think they necessarily need the NWA historic or the national titles. I think there's a history behind them, and maybe they should keep them in some form as, maybe unite them to the CMLL titles, like where they unify all the titles, just because there's so many guys. I mean, at the rate we're going, 1/3 of the promotion already has belts. I think we're getting closer to about 40% of the promotion having titles, not just the CMLL titles, but the NWA titles, and then you also have the national titles. Then you also have the Arena Coliseo titles. There's a lot of guys who hold DF titles. Those don't even get mentioned. Thank goodness they don't, because then you're adding a few more titles, because I think there's 5 more champions, 5 more titles to be added if you include the DF titles. So fortunately, and then there's the Occidente titles in Guadalajara. See, I think that's fine. Guadalajara having their own titles. Maybe throw Puebla a couple of titles, just because the local guys, although Puebla doesn't run anything beyond the Monday shows, but the Guadalajara runs Sunday, Tuesdays, and their guys can actually challenge for titles. And every once in a while you get one of the CMLL main guys winning the title, defending it against the local guys. That makes sense. You could do that with Puebla as well, but this having the titles all in the main CMLL promotion, it's very difficult to follow. Just a very difficult promotion to watch right now. So, like I said, CMLL has been running a lot of tag team tournaments, and one of the problems that CMLL is having with these tournaments is that they're not really like separate, giving them a little bit of breathing room in between the tournaments. So instead of just like running one tournament and then taking maybe a month off and then doing something else, doing another tournament later on, they're just going like they had the Torneo Nacional Increíble de Parejas tournament, and they right not even before it ended, they announced that they were going to bring back the Mexican national tag team titles, and they immediately started the tag tournament for that on the night they held the final for the Incredible Pairs tag team tournament, and and again, in between that, they actually even had a tag team tournament on a Puebla show, which just is amazing. And it was a family, a partner, a tag team tournament between family members. And then what happens right as they're in the middle of doing the national tag team title tournament, they announced that they're going to hold a national tag team title tournament for the women. They're bringing back that title as well. So it's just been constant, the same thing. The only difference is that at least the women's tournament is going to be on a Sunday show. Unless somebody records it and uploads it onto YouTube, you're not going to watch it. You're going to get the results. But honestly, is there even 16 women in CMLL? Because they're doing four teams per block, so that's 8. So that's basically 16 women total, and I don't think CMLL even has 16 women that are good enough. And then they've come up with these really makeshift tag teams just because there never really was a tag team. There never really were women in the promotion that were tag teams. I think the last regular tag team was probably or women that actually treated themselves as tag team were Dallas and Zuxis, and before that Princesa Suhei and Princesa Blanca. Other than that, everybody else has pretty much just been thrown into trios matches or done other stuff, or been more of a singles wrestler. I don't see that really making any headway in the as far as the women's division, or even it's not going to attract more fans. Honestly, I don't think at this point people even care about the titles, because if they did, you could headline a show with the title match, and it would mean something. But usually, if they have Dos Leyendas or the anniversary or any of these other big events, it always has to be a big stipulation match, because the titles don't mean anything. The title matches are usually like the semi-main event, or even like the second or third match, depending on what title it is. So you're not really adding any value to those titles. You're just adding more. The one positive is now they have everybody in the promotion is going to at least have a shot at a title, or be part of a tournament to have a shot at a title. So anyways, the Incredible Pairs tournament was won by Caristico and Forastero over Carbonario and Volador Jr. I didn't think this tournament was good at all, other than the Ultimo Guerrero Bandito tag team. I really thought this was just very average, and the final was just an okay match, with Felino doing a run, not even doing a run, and just standing on the entrance and distracting Carbonario and Volador Jr. to where they got pinned by Caristico and Forastero. Really a nothing match as far as I was concerned. Towards the end, usually the one thing this tournament has always had is the final has always been very solid, and this one was just very okay. And some people probably will say it wasn't that good at all, but I would just say it was okay, and ended at that. It just didn't make me want to see these teams more frequently. The only thing that came out of it was that Caristico wants to continue to team up with NGD. That's going to fall on deaf ears with the CML programming department, because they're so busy. First of all, they'll do that anyways, because they'll do the Relevos Increíbles matches. Right now, they're just doing Relevos Increíbles matches and tag team tournaments. That's their creativity at this point, as far as CML's programming department goes. But yeah, that's basically the final. And then the national tag team titles, the first block was won by Hijo del Villano III and Templario. Templario looked really good in this. Unfortunately, the best team on this was really Soberano Jr. and Titan. They didn't advance. I think Hijo del Villano III did not look that good. I think he has some personality as far as playing a Rudo, but as far as what he does in the ring, it's very basic. It's unfortunate CMLL ended up with the wrong Villano kid, just because he's nowhere near as good as Villano III Jr., his brother. Hijo del Villano III was even gone for like 4 to 5 or 6 weeks. The only thing I saw on him was that he was hanging out with Reina Isis. They're a couple right now. But, other than that, you haven't really seen anything from him. And he's really not been that impressive. I still think there's a little bit hope in him, just because, a lot of guys don't really mature as far as being workers. He could always improve. We've seen that with a few other wrestlers. But honestly, I mean, at one point, I think it was him, Super Astro Jr., and Atlantis Jr. came in at around the same time. And Super Astro Jr. and Atlantis Jr. are blowing him out of the water as far as their ability. Atlantis Jr. is pretty much already... I mean, the guy's a main eventer right now. It just that's the level of work that Atlantis Jr. has been able to put in. He has been really good. Hijo Villano III is still a long way from reaching that, but he's going to get pushed at that level, just because he's in CMLL and they need more Rudos, young Rudos on their roster, and he's kind of fits that bill. You look at CMLL's Rudo, that side, it's really thin. I mean, there are some nights, some shows where the fourth match basically already has like guys like Okumura, Dark Magic, Sagrado, Misterioso Jr., guys like that. Efesto and Luciferno are still high on the card. And none of those guys is very good. I think Efesto is good, but I think it's time. I mean, the Efesto character is already worn out. They got to move him. I still think they got to switch him back to Panterita ring and let him team with Blue Panther as, a veteran tag team or something. Because, it's just not working right now with Efesto, Luciferno, and Averno. And they were, Mephisto. Wish Averno was still with them. But Luciferno and Efesto were in this tag team tournament. And they were part of one of the worst tag team matches I've seen this year. They went up against Blue Panther Jr. and Black Panther. Those guys look so horrible. I think the best thing that could happen for Black Panther would be for him to turn Rudo and, get away from his brother, because I think Black Panther still has some talent. In fact, I honestly think Black Panther should leave CMLL, just because I think he would be so much better. Right now, they're not doing anything with him. He's kind of in that situation that Puma King was. The only difference was Puma King Tiger's really good, but he's just not. He kind of looks like he's lost some motivation, and he's starting to look a little bit about as bad as his brother lately. But that's what the tag team tournament situation has been in CMLL. That's all it's been, really. CMLL's been doing a lot of tag team tournaments. Very boring. The other news, Villano III Jr. got a huge win in Juarez, where he beat Juarez Loco Aéreo in a mask match this past weekend. This match was actually uploaded complete by a few people who filmed it, handhelds obviously. But then there was another YouTube channel that actually had it a little bit better shot, more from a ringside area, and it was really well done. But they actually switched it over to private. I'm guessing the Juarez promoter probably wants Mas Lucha to get the official, the actual match complete on their channel. They must have worked something out with them. And unfortunately, that right now what you get is just handhelds and the highlights that are available from Mas Lucha. It looked like it was a pretty good match. A couple of people said that the finish was really questionable, just because Aéreo actually lost the match via countout when he actually went through he had laid out Villano III Jr. on some chairs, and he was going to do a senton onto him, and Villano III Jr. moved out, and Villano III Aéreo ended up hitting all the chairs, so they both were still knocked out, and they both were getting counted, and Villano III Jr. was able to get in the ring, and right when Aéreo was going to get in before the 20 count, Reyes Scorpion grabbed him by the leg and pulled him down, and that led to Ario being counted out and losing the mask match. And he had to lose. He had to unmask. He kind of looks a little bit like Rey Scorpion, like a Rey Scorpion without a like, kind of not like him, but has a similar build. Kind of has that type. He kind of gives me that vibe where he could actually be that type of wrestler. He's been getting some. I think if he was wrestling in Mexico City, there would be a little bit more. He would be getting more recognition. But since he's working on in Juarez, there hasn't been as much of a demand for him. I think he's got some talent. He looks pretty good in the ring. One of the things that people are wondering why Villano III Jr. got the opportunity. That same show, they honored Flama Roja, who I think retired, and he actually lost his mask to Villano III back in the late 80s. So I think it was kind of like their way of kind of continuing that tradition of a Villano III, going from Villano III to his son winning a big mask match on this show. And I think they did a good job. I mean, that was far better than whatever CML has been doing. And I think it was, Juarez has always been a hotbed for lucha libre, but this kind of felt like it was coming back again, just because there's been some up and downs with a lot of promotions, not necessarily the AAA or CMLL, but more so like the territories where they'll be hot one for a few months or years, and then suddenly they'll just kind of like die out for a bit. Same thing has happened with Tijuana. Montreal has gone through that in the past. So it's kind of good to see that happening. I mean, you're really starting to see like Tijuana with EMW and the Crash kind of running more shows, and then you have some of the smaller promotions doing more there, and then Monterrey with a lot of the smaller promotions, along with some of the the Chaos, Riot. You have so many of the other promotions that are around that area that are doing a little more to like get the territory going, and generating a little more interest in those in lucha libre in those territories, in those regions. I think that's one of the things that you need that to happen, because otherwise you're not going to get these guys. The CML and AAA guys, they're not going to get work if there's not anybody promoting that's doing well in those regions, and they need those guys to do well. But yeah, that was like the big match. Villano III Jr. is really good. Totally opposite of what Hijo de Villano III has been. I think a few people imagine a Templario Villano III Jr. tag team. I mean, that would be probably the best tag team in Mexico right now if they actually put them together. Unfortunately, Templario got the other brother. I think they're going to end up winning these titles, just because looking at the second group involved in the next block of the tournament, it doesn't look very overwhelming. Other than I think they gave Atlantis Jr. another a weaker partner as well with Flyer. I kind of wish they would have given Atlantis Jr. like Goro Maya Jr., just because I think that would have been a cool way to transition Goro Maya Jr. into he was part of Reyes de la Atlantida with Atlantis, the father, and Delta, and now he would team up with Atlantis Jr., kind of guide him in his career. I think that would have been fun. Then at some point you could have done some angle down the road. Unfortunately, CML doesn't really do angles, doesn't do any of that stuff, so we got this instead. But like I said, I think we're gonna get. I think Templario Villano III, their odds of winning the Mexican national tag team titles are very good. But if only Villano III, I think Villano III Jr. made the right decision. I think you see the guys who decided not to stick around or never got picked up by CMLL, you kind of see why they didn't get picked up and why they're thriving outside of CMLL, because they're doing really well. And I think CMLL would have just held them back. I can't imagine Villano III Jr. doing what he's doing if he was in CMLL. And we see that with a lot of the guys. It's better to make your name outside of the promotion and then maybe come back. Hope the CML programming department changes. It won't, unfortunately, because these guys are not. I mean, they've been the same programming department, minus a few people have come and gone for at least the past 30 years. It's very scary, but that's what we're getting right now. So for whatever reason, CMLL and AAA's next big events are actually happening on the same weekend, with Homenaje dos Leyendas happening on March 20th in Arena, Mexico, and Reyes happening on March 21st at the Poliforum Zamna in Merida, Yucatan. Back-to-back shows. We don't even know if the CMLL Dos Leyendas show is going to be streamed live. It'll definitely be recorded and posted at some point, either most likely by CML late in the evening. I don't know if they're going to stream it live. The last couple, I think last year they didn't. They just posted it either late Friday or early Saturday, depending sometimes also on the dance segments, because they have to like edit out the music, so they might take a little longer sometimes. Or if they're on television, they'll switch it to like Sunday. But the AAA Reyes show will definitely be streamed on Twitch live on Saturday night. And both shows are very different. I kind of think AAA definitely put in a little more effort on their show. Dos Leyendas, I think the biggest effort they put into their show is really selecting which legend they would be honoring, and the one they selected was Sangre Chicana. And I think that's a very good person to honor, just because he was a big part of EMLL during the late 70s into the 80s, going all the way into the early 90s before he finally left and joined AAA. But he was definitely one of their top stars, one of the top guys in the promotion. Several times there were points during the late 70s where there were debates as to who was the best wrestler in Mexico, and he was always one of the people mentioned, along with Pero Guayo and Canek. As far as like the heavyweights, or the wrestlers who are bigger, the light heavyweights all the way to heavyweights, they were kind of like the guys who were constantly regarded as the best wrestlers at certain points during that time period. I think from that point forward, CML just basically put together a show that was very similar to what you get on any other Friday night, other than the main event being a stipulation match. The opener, of course, is the Micros, Microman, El Gallito Atomo versus Chamuel, El Guapito, and Perico Zacarias. I think the novelty's kind of worn off from these micro matches, but Microman and Chamuel are still very good, and they always give 110% effort. So I think at least this is going to be better than most openers that we get on CMLL. Unfortunately, they haven't really been recruiting more micros. Honestly, I don't know where they're going to find. I mean, unless they find guys that, there's a hotbed for, micro wrestlers. I don't see how they're going to. I could see at least one every couple of years showing up and joining the division. But as of right now, we really haven't seen a big anything being added. It's pretty much the same group of guys, with Mije kind of joining into the mix whenever one of the other Rudos isn't available. The second match is Diamante Azul Titan Stuka Jr. versus Mephisto, Nero Casas, and El Terrible. This is basically the type of match you're getting on every CMLL show, honestly. Only this time it's the second match. This is usually a semi-main event or even a main event on some shows. But, I don't think it's anything shocking or very interesting. I don't really expect much from this match, especially with Diamante Azul and Mephisto kind of being in it. I think Mephisto's really regressed as far as what he does in the ring, but Diamante Azul is way, way worse. But you do have Titan, Negro Casas, Terrible, and Stuka Jr., who are still capable of doing some stuff. But I think this is at best an okay match. The third match is Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, Flip Gordon from ROH coming in to face NGD, Sanson, Cuatrero, and Forastero. I think this should be a good match. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a good match that we've already seen, only you're replacing Soberano Jr. or Titan or anybody else who ends up teaming up with the Chavez brothers with Flip Gordon against NGD. Really a match that we've seen several times. Hopefully it's just good, and we can enjoy it, but I don't expect much from it beyond that. The fourth match is for the CMLL Ladies Ring title, as Dallas defends that title against Princesa Suhei. I don't have a lot of high expectations for this match. Dallas has been really bad. She's regressed ever since she's been made the main star for the women's division. She has really regressed in the ring. I think there was a period of time where she wasn't actually that bad, when she was kind of like finding herself, and she kind of had about a year or two where she was actually passable, but now she's really been horrible in the ring. And just because she's given this role of being the power female wrestler in the division and dominant, so when she wrestles somebody, she always has to be more dominant. She doesn't sell. She doesn't do anything for her opponents, and her opponents usually look very underwhelming. And the matches are a mess for the most part. And I don't expect this match to be any different from that. Especially because I don't think Princesa Suhei is at that level that she was. Even like when she wrestled Zeuxis in the mask match, I don't even think Princesa Suhei was at her best at that point. Princesa Suhei's best was really the early 2000s all the way up to about 2012 or so. Then the last couple of years, she's really not been that. She's been an okay female wrestler. I mean, in this division, the female women's division, she's always going to be kind of higher just because nobody else has really surpassed her. But she hasn't been very good. I think this match would have been a lot better if it had it would have been La Jarochita challenging for the title. But for whatever reason, CML went with Princesa Suhei. Obviously, it's more of a seniority thing than anything else. The semi-main event will be Los Guerreros Laguneros of Ultimo Guerrero, Gran Guerrero, Euphoria defending the CML World Trios titles against another version of the Sky Team. Only this time it's Caristico, Volador Jr., and Valiente. Again, this match we've seen numerous times. It's usually good, but again, it is the same match we've seen over and over again. Even if it's good, we're probably just going to say the same thing and say, we've already seen this. It was good, but we've seen it numerous times. Not just like within the last year, but within the last several years. I kind of don't know about this. The undercard, I kind of wish they would have had Hechicero, Templario thrown in the mix. Sobrano Jr., another person that should have been in the mix in this. Just a very underwhelming card. I'm not that excited about it. Just not fun. And then we get to the main event of Barbaro Carbonario versus Felino in a hair match. I think a lot of people have been very underwhelmed with this match, especially the build up to it, and just even the announcement. I think the best build up has really been the interview segments they've had, where they've talked about the breakup of the Peste Negra faction. But other than that, I mean, nobody really cares about Felino as the main event wrestler anymore. And Carbonario is kind of everybody just assumes Carbonario is going to win this match and continue to move up the ladder. But honestly, I think the one thing that will come out of this, the one positive, is that the crowd is going to be very into this match. And I think that's going to actually make the match come across a little bit better. Normally, if these two are wrestling each other, it's probably just at best an okay match. But I think on this being a big main event on Dos Leyendas, I think the crowd's going to be into it, especially because you're going to have a lot of tourists, a lot of people who are showing up just for this show or for that trip to go to Mexico. And this is one of the events that's happening that weekend. There are big events that's happening for as far as lucha goes. I think they're going to be into the match, but I'm not really that excited about this card. Like I said, usually, like in the past, I mean the last couple of years, honestly, like the last year, I don't think I've even cared if CML airs these shows live because they haven't been very interesting. I would expect if you have something else going on Fridays, on that Friday night, I would say you're better off doing that instead of waiting around to watch this show. You could always watch it later in the weekend. If you don't do a Lucha Libre podcast or do Lucha reports, you could watch it whenever you want. I think those of us who actually cover Lucha Libre are a little bit more screwed because we have to watch it to talk about it. And if they don't show it, then we can't talk about it. So, and it kind of like kills the whole buzz, the whole point of having a Lucha Libre website or a podcast or anything like that. So, I'm just very underwhelmed by this card. It's not very good. There's nothing I'm really that excited about watching. I mean, honestly, I'll probably just watch this and, hope for the best, but I don't think we're going to get anything that strong from this show. As far as AAA Reyes goes the following night, I do think this show is going to be a lot stronger, actually. There's a few matches on that. I think I'm kind of surprised that they didn't have any other women on this card. And the only woman that's on the card is actually Leyendas. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but or a good thing with the women, just because I think sometimes you just want to have at least that one match that's different from everything else. And I think the one match and honestly, they've been very good with the Lady Maravilla, Big Mommy, and some of the other women that have been involved, Kiera, Vanilla Vargas, all the other Fabi Apache. They've actually looked really good in those mixed tag matches. I'm surprised they didn't have that on this card. But this show is a little bit stronger, especially from matches 3 to 6. It's really good. I think there's a bit of a drop off before that and after, but there's enough talent, enough star power on the show that I expect that it's going to be a really good show overall. The show opens with Drago and Drago Kid versus La Parca Negra and La Parquita Negra. That's a really interesting match to put together just because of the whole the names and all that. I think that should be a good opener. I don't know if it's going to be a really good opener, but it should be good. Just because honestly, Drago at this point isn't an opening match guy. He's pretty much been wrestling a lot of late in like third or fourth match or higher. And, him slipping to the opener, he might see that as a sign. Hopefully he doesn't, because I think this could be a fun match, and he's gonna have that opportunity to get the crowd going. The second match is a 3-way trios match, which has Poder del Norte going up against Los OGTs and Pagano, the trio of Pagano, Hijo de LA Park, and LA Park Jr. I think this match should be okay. It's going to be a brawl, honestly, just because of all the guys that are involved. It's probably going to be more of a brawl than anything else. And it could be something that's pretty entertaining. But I wouldn't expect it to be the match of the night, just because of the guys who are in it. Best case, I'm hoping it's a good brawl. And it's something that, it's going to be something different, honestly. The third match is really where this pit starts to pick up, as it is for the Los Jinetes del Aire, Hijo del Vikingo, Mysticis Jr., and Octagon Jr. defending the AAA World Trios titles against Los Mercenarios, Rey Scorpion, Tejano Jr., and La Hiedra. I think Torres is probably wrestling somewhere else that weekend. Otherwise, he probably would have been in this match. They've actually already had a match on one of the previous TV tapings where Torres was actually in for Tejano Jr. Tejano Jr. was working in California that weekend. And so they had Torres team up with Rey Scorpion and La Hiedra. And they had a really short match against Jinetes del Aire to build up to this match. I think this is going to be good. The one thing that works for La Hiedra being in this match is that all three of the technicals in this match are smaller luchadors, and she's been able to excel working with smaller male wrestlers. And I would expect that to be the continue the trend here. This should be a really fun match. I think we're going to see a new... I wouldn't be shocked if we see a title change in this match, just because of all the matches that are for titles in this, and we're getting back to... we're getting 3 consecutive title matches on the card. I would think this could be the one that actually has a title change, just because I could see this being something where they have, La Hiedra as one of the trios champions in this. And maybe, they could do something with Los Jinetes del Aire chasing, or possibly, moving them on to something else. The fourth match will be the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix, defending the AAA World Tag Team titles against the Rascals, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz. That should be an excellent match. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure they've wrestled on in the US a few times, but this should be a really good match. I could see this being the match of the night for a lot of fans. I think depending on your preference and styles, I could see this probably like slipping below some of the other matches, but I could see this being one of the matches of the night. I expect it to be really good, and I expect Lucha Brothers to retain the titles. I can't really see the Impact team winning, and I'm not sure if politically they want Pentagon and Phoenix losing the tag titles, especially since they're also on AEW. The fifth match is Kenny Omega defending the AAA World Mega Heavyweight title against Laredo Kid, or as he called him, Lorenzo Kid. This should be an excellent match. It might not be at the level of the Dragon Lee or Phoenix match, just because I'm not sure. Well, actually, it might not be, just because Kenny has actually wrestled Laredo Kid in trios matches, so there might be a little more familiarity with him, more so than with Dragon Lee too. I could see this being a really good match as well. Like I said, this is the one difference between AAA and CML that weekend. I think every single one of the matches on the AAA show is far more interesting than anything else that is going to happen in CMLL, just because CML refuses to do anything different. And if you look at their entire card, almost everything is something that we've seen at some point, minus the Felino Carbonario hair match. Everything else is we've pretty much seen. We've seen Suhei versus Dallas. We've seen the two trios matches. We've seen the first two matches as well on numerous shows. Whereas on AAA show, we're getting a little bit of a mix and a few different things. And I think the Omega Laredo Kid match is going to be very good. And I would say matches 3 through 5 have a shot of being better than anything else on that weekend. The sixth match is where really I think could be questionable. It will be the Torneo Rey de Reyes 2020. And this could be both either good or really bad, depending on how they prepare the tournament. If they do it like they did in Heroes Inmortales, I think it has a shot to be good. But if they do like they did in Triple Mania Regia, this could be very bad. And there's a lot of guys on this match that could make it really good. And then you have some guys who could make it really bad. So you have Blue Demon Jr., who's more of a, at this point in time, he's kind of more of a brawler. And he's really there just to like instigate stuff. So I would think he's probably going to be somebody that goes after somebody and gets, taken out at some point because he's attacking someone or doing something else. Then you have Aerostar, Michael Nakazawa, Mascarita Sagrada, Mr. Iguana, Niño Hamburguesa, Dave the Clown, Ares, Dinastia, and Villano III Jr. I think if Aerostar, Ares, Villano III Jr., and Dinastia work the bulk of this match, Mascarita Sagrada being another one, if they work the bulk of this match, I think this will be an excellent match. Then you have Mr. Iguana, Niño Hamburguesa, who are more of the fan. They're more popular with the fans. They could do a little bit more. Blue Demon Jr. doing what he does. But then you also have like Michael Nakazawa and Dave the Clown in this. So those are the guys that really worry me. But they could be, at least this one, there's a chance where they could actually do, it could be good. It's a lot more, and again, it's different to what we're seeing in the Dos Leyendas card. Even if it doesn't work out, at least it's something that's different. The seventh match, the main event, will be Los Ingobernables, Rush, LA Park, and Bestia del Ring going up against Psycho Clown, Monster Clown, and Murder Clown, the Psycho Circus. This should be a really good brawl. Just because you have Psycho Clown, Rush, and LA Park in this. And I think those three are able to like elevate everybody else in the match. So it's going to be, and plus even if the other three can't hold their own, they're going to be brawling around the in the ring, out of the ring, in the crowd. So it's going to be an interesting main event. It's going to be strong. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something at the end that happens that, leads up to the next big event for Verano de Escándalo. I wouldn't be shocked if there's something that they do to like start lead up to their next big event. At the same time, AAA announced that they're going to have a press conference on March 11th, this upcoming Wednesday, to make some announcements for Triple Mania. They also announced that Triple Mania would be happening on August 22nd. So maybe by that point, we might have an idea of something that's going to happen in Triple Mania, and we might see something in Rey de Reyes, possibly in the main event, that surfaced in that press conference that happens, that kind of ends up happening within the main event. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. A lot is going on in AAA. The only problem is that since AAA doesn't run that frequently on a semi-regular basis every week, you sometimes will go a week or two where you don't get any AAA news. But this upcoming weekend, there's going to be a show. Then there's going to be another one in obviously the Reyes show, and then afterwards there's another show. So they're going to be a little bit more. There's going to be a little more news as far as AAA goes during the month of March, which is far better news given the current situation in CML, which has been really boring. Some other news. IWRG has brought in Ayako Hamada and Diosa Quetzal to be head trainers to train women within IWRG. Ayako Hamada pretty much has the same role that Black Terry has as far as training the women. He trains the men, she'll be training the women. And when they first announced this, I think there was a lot of excitement or interest because, Ayako Hamada, she's actually a really good wrestler, and she should be able to provide some good knowledge to a new generation of female wrestlers. But when they announced Diosa Quetzal, that kind of just dropped everything. She's never been very good. So I don't know what she could possibly give as far as knowledge to the women. It's kind of like it's lucha libre. You basically get good and bad within an announcement. Pretty much what they did here. This is all part of, and actually, IWRG is trying to do a little bit more with the women. They're actually going to headline this upcoming Sunday show, and I would expect that not be the first time and only time they do it, just because I do think that IWRG wants to join in on this whole thing of giving women an opportunity. So I would expect more women's matches in the IWRG. I don't expect it to be a lot, but I think it's going to be something that they just add into the mix because they haven't really done that. They've been doing it a lot within the last year or two. So it isn't something that's necessarily new, but I think they want to do a little bit more. They want to be a place where there's more females, training to become wrestlers and more of an opportunity to get into the business. So that's about it for this week. Let's see what else is going on. Nothing much, really. If you haven't signed up to my Patreon, the LuchaWorld Patreon, at patreon.com/LuchaWorld, I will be doing a couple of podcasts. I believe I'll be doing a Blue Panther podcast at some point for Lucha Classica. It will be a Blue Panther retrospective covering his entire career. That is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. We're going to be talking about his early start as very beginning, starting out in La Laguna, and then going into the independents, joining UWA, then joining EMLL, later CMLL, and then switching over to AAA, and then coming back to CMLL, then becoming, mixing in, working as a CMLL wrestler as well as an independent, his sons, a lot to talk about, his rivals like Love Machine, Hijo El Santo, Nero Casas. He has had numerous rivals. This is something, the big mask match that he had, the loss that he had, his rival with the Villanos. A lot to talk about Blue Panther. Also, I've been a little bit more diligent as far as posting the Lucha magazine write-ups on Patreon, and I just finished a Boxy Lucha issue, and it is an awesome issue. If you have not signed up to our Patreon page, I would recommend signing up just for this magazine because it is really good. At the $3 option, if you sign up for $3 for 1 month, you're getting a bunch of content. If you haven't signed up already, you're basically getting all the previous Lucha Classica episodes, also 2 episodes of RetroWrestling.com's podcast, the Retro Wrestling Podcast, that's what I mean, sorry, and also a lot of magazine write-ups. But the September Boxy Lucha magazine actually has news on I don't know how many of you remember how often Nero Casas and Fuerza Guerrera talk about their match in September 1981, where they had this amazing match that at the end, after the match was over and everybody headed to the locker room, Paco Alonso talked about how impressive these guys were in the match, praised them in front of the locker room, and told everybody that they should work just like these guys. If they put in the effort that these guys put in, there would be so many more good wrestlers, and or they'd be so much better. He pretty much praised them, and it became like this huge legendary match. While that match is talked about, also Pat Patterson is touring Mexico during this time period. So there's not only him in several lineups as he's leading up to this big match with Canek, but there's also results of a match that happened in Arena, Mexico, where he teamed up with Bob Backlund against Canek and Perro Aguayo, a match that a lot of fans, surprisingly to myself and anybody else who reads it, the fans did not like that match. The undercard match, the semi-main event, was actually the match that they liked. But this magazine has a lot of content. Probably of all the magazines I've recapped or written up on, this is the one that has the most information on it that I have found. It is amazing. I can't wait for people to read that, to look through it. It's one of my favorites. So if you haven't signed up, sign up. And if you don't want to sign up for the $3 version reward tier, the LuchaWorld Patreon page has a $5 reward tier. And a lot of people constantly ask me about, do I still sell DVDs? I do not sell DVDs anymore. I got out of that. But if you want copies of DVDs, you're able to get them through my Patreon page at $5. I've been uploading them into a Google Drive as ISO files. You could extract them from there and you could have those DVDs. At $5, you get 10 DVDs a month, 10 shows. It's not 10 DVDs, it's 10 shows. Usually it ends up being about between 10 to 15 DVDs because there's a lot of sets. If you remember my slambamjam.com or the other DVD sites I've had or tape sites I've had, you know that there were always multiple, it was usually sets. Well, I've been posting that every month. You get 10 new ones, 10 new DVD titles added. If you sign up in March, you get the March and February updates. You missed out on the January ones, but if you at some point, we'll probably end up if there's people that didn't get those and ask for those, I'll gladly post those. But for right now, you get the March and February DVD updates. It's called the Video Vault. So if you see that on Patreon, you'll see me tweet that out. You'll see me post it on LuchaWorld. The Video Vault, that's what it is. 10 ISO files, 10 DVD titles are posted every month. Check that out. I'm trying to do something like every week. So that's been this week. I did the March Video Vault update, 10 DVD titles. Then I'll do like the magazine write-up. Then I'll do a podcast. Then I'll maybe do another magazine write-up. Then I'll do another podcast. Then I'll do the Video Vault. I'm trying to do a weekly thing. So people have something. As far as how the tiers go, the Retro Wrestling Podcast is available at the $1 reward tier. And there's also a few other things that are available at $1. Previews you get a free episode of Lucha Classica, or you get something on there as well. At the $3 reward tier, you get all the Lucha stuff. And then at the $5 reward tier, you get everything below that. And you also get the Video Vault. So I highly recommend people signing up to that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't really keep up with it. So they maybe don't realize that I've been doing that. And I mention it on Twitter all the time. I mention it on other on the website. But sometimes I think people just don't really want to read, or don't really. It takes them a while to figure that stuff out. Maybe they don't know what I'm doing, but check that out. You could find that. Stay up to date on Lucha News on LuchaWorld.com, and be sure to check out my other website, RetroWrestling.com, with a lot of show reviews from classic wrestling shows. I think I've only done 10 this year compared to the hot run I had when I first started. A little bit of a burnout, but I'm starting to pick that up again. So that's about it for this week. We will talk to you again real soon. Definitely after the two shows the Dos Leyendas and Rey de Reyes shows will give recaps on those shows. So talk to you guys later.